Blessings upon you. Welcome to our Cornerstone Word for the Week. It's our weekly Bible study that also incorporates the upcoming Sunday school study as well. I'm super excited about our study today. I'm Pastor A.T. Curry, and thank you so much for joining us. I want to invite your attention to the Gospel of St. Luke chapter 11, and today we're looking at verses 37 through 44. That's the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 11, verses 37 through 44. One publication lists the title for this study as Love Completes, Law Falls Short. Love completes, the law falls short. Our International Sunday School study curriculum titles this study as Jesus Confronts Hypocrisy. Jesus confronts hypocrisy. The word hypocrisy, of course, comes from the word hypocrite. In the original sense and in the original use of the word, it meant to refer to an actor or actress, one who in particular would wear a mask. As an actor or an actress, they would pretend to be someone who they really were not. That's what a hypocrite is. That's what a hypocrite is. And so Jesus confronts hypocrisy. He found it among the Pharisees, those who were stuck on tradition, the laws. They had thousands and thousands of laws. They memorized the law. They practiced reciting the laws. They had laws for everything, what to eat, what not to eat, how not to eat, how many times to wash, how long to wash before you ate, law for everything. And Jesus is going to confront them in this study today, as well as others who are so traditional and who get so caught up on doing things traditionally that there's no room for expansion or growth. Some people can get so stuck on rituals, and it's really evidence of the fact that the person is trying to do something that would make them appear to look better in the sight of God. And so their focus more on deeds being done rather than what deeds the Lord has already done. The Apostle Paul, in one of our recent studies, mentioned that those who try to work for their salvation, he said they're trying to make the cross null and void. You cannot work to be saved. We work because we are saved. It's out of appreciation for what the Lord has done. But you have some people who are just stuck on doing things a set way. It's a Pharisaic attitude. It has to be done this way or not at all. And Jesus in this study basically says enough of that. And so let's look at this study beginning with Luke chapter 11, verse 37 and onward. The King James Version says, and as he spake, a certain Pharisee besought him to dine with him. And he went in and sat down to meat. Of course, this is a Pharisee inviting Jesus to eat. And when the Pharisee saw it, he marveled that he, Jesus, had not first washed before dinner. Again, they had set rituals, how many times a day to wash, how long each wash was to last, how the plates and cups were to be washed, that you ate and drank out of. There was a law literally for everything. And Jesus said, you're so concerned with the outer, you've totally neglected the inner. Your outward is spotless, but your inward is totally filthy. Listen as to how another gospel writer mentions the relationship of Pharisees and Jesus and their attitude toward the law. Let's look at Mark, Gospel of Mark. And let's look at Mark chapter 7, verses 1 through 4. This gives us a type of context for our text today. Mark 7, verses 1 through 4. Then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes, which came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, with unwashen hands, they found fault. For the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash their hands oft, eat not, holding the tradition of the elders. See that word tradition? And so Jesus is saying, those of you that are just stuck on tradition, you're worried about deeds, outward deeds, but your inward is filthy. And so verse 4, and when they were come from the market, except they wash, they eat not. And many other things there be, which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brazen vessels, and of tables. And so they were just consumed with how one would wash. It was part of their law. They were so concerned with the outer. Jesus said, you have neglected the inward. Let me give you one more passage for a contextual reference, and that's in the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew chapter 15, and verses 1 through 9. It reads like this. Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. But he answered and said unto them, why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? So you see what I'm getting at? And so Jesus says, some of you are so stuck on tradition. You've neglected the things that really are of God. Verse 4 and onward, for God commanded, saying, honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. But ye say, whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it is a gift by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. Jesus said, ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy on you, saying, this people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men, not of God. And so Jesus says, some of you all are so stuck on tradition. Your heart is just in the wrong place. Your heart's in the wrong place, and it's evident in your actions. For out of the heart proceedeth one's actions. And so, verse 39, and the Lord said unto him, now do ye Pharisees make clean the outside of the cup and the platter, but your inward part is full of ravening and wickedness. In other words, you're so caught up on how the pots are to be clean, what you're to wear to worship, what you have to dress up in while witnessing to others. Is that you totally miss the whole picture. You're fixed up on the outside, but you're totally a hot mess on the inside. Jesus says, "Ye fools." That's in verse 40 of Luke 11. You fools. Did not he that made that which is without make that which is within also? Let me share with you a few verses, 37 through 41 of the Messenger translation. When he finished that talk, a Pharisee asked him to dinner. He entered his house and sat right down at the table. The Pharisee was shocked and somewhat offended when he saw that Jesus didn't wash up before the meal. But the master said to him, I know you, Pharisees, buff the surface of your cups and plates so they sparkle in the sun. But I also know your insides are maggoty. The Bible said maggoty, like full of maggots. Your heart, your inside, it's full of maggoty. You love tradition on the outside, but your inside is like maggots with greed and secret evil. Stupid Pharisees. Didn't the one who made the outside also make the inside? Turn both your pockets and your hearts inside out and give generously to the poor. Then your lives will be clean, not just your dishes and your hands. Jesus says you're so stuck on tradition and deeds, you're trying to work up on the kingdom, and then you're leaving out the heart, love, compassion, concern for your fellow sister and brother. He says, woe unto you, verse 42, Pharisees, for ye tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs. In other words, he's saying you're so stuck on tradition, you tithe not only what is required, but you go above that in your tithing. And he said you ought not do that. He said, but you pass over the matters of the heart. You're even tithing in the wrong way. He says again, ye tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs. And so they were so much into tithing, which is a great thing. They would even tithe from their plants, the smallest of plants, and give that. He says you do that, but then you turn around and don't take care of the poor. So you're tithing, you're doing a deed, you're doing a good deed for the wrong purpose. You're trying to be seen of men and women. You're just trying to look good, but you're not acting good. You're trying to be good on the outside so others can see you. But your heart is not good on the inside where others can feel you. Woe unto you, you tithe. But then it says, and then you pass over judgment and the love of God. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. Yeah. Woe unto you, Pharisees, for ye love the uppermost seats in the synagogue and greetings in the markets. Again, the person who's caught up on tradition and thinking that you just have to do things this way because it's always been done this way, that has nothing to do with ministry or work of church or the Lord. He's saying, woe unto you. You do this stuff in terms of tithes. That's great. He says, but you ought not have to left the other undone. He said, you ought also be concerned with judgment and the love of God, and mercy and kindness, and compassion and concern. He's also saying, as a side note, that when you fail to tithe, you fail to live up to a hypocrite. That's what the inverse of that is saying. And so he says, I like the Messenger translation for this. Verse 42, I've had it with you. You're hopeless. you Pharisees, frauds. You keep meticulous account books, tithing on every nickel and dime you get, but manage to find loopholes for getting around basic matters of justice and God's love. Careful bookkeeping is commendable, but the basics are required. Verse 43 and verse 44. Woe unto you, Pharisees, for ye love the uppermost seats in the synagogues and greetings in the markets. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are as graves which appear not, and the men that walk over them are not aware of them. Meaning, not only is it ridiculous that you're so caught up on the law and tradition, that you're not even kind to others. You do it just to be seen, as if, again, you're doing something for God. He says, but you also are misleading other people, and you're causing them to walk over grass, or what looks like grass that's really graves. So you're causing other people, with your foolishness and your persuasion of them, that is anti toward the church and anti toward the fellowship. And so he says, in the Messenger translation, you're hopeless, you Pharisees, frauds. You love sitting at the head table at church dinners, love preening yourselves in the radiance of public flattery. Frauds. You're just like unmarked graves. People walk over that nice grassy surface, never suspecting the rot and corruption that is 6 feet under. And so Jesus says, enough is enough. Don't be so concerned with of the law that there's nothing, no room for grace in your heart to be exhibited. Yeah. He said, you all are so caught up on tradition, you miss the whole point. You're so caught up on the outside, you miss what's going on the inside. Paul said in the earlier study, he said, you're so caught up on the law, tradition, and circumcision. He said, just cut yourself out altogether. Just castrate yourself, since you're that caught up on law, and then maybe your heart can get right in the long run. Listen, I enjoyed this study today. Won't you read ahead for our study for next week? And we'll be looking at Jesus silences critics. Jesus silences critics. You can find that also in this Gospel of Luke, Luke chapter 14. Luke chapter 14, verses 1 through 6. Jesus silences critics. Luke chapter 14, verses 1 through 6. Listen, I enjoyed sharing that with you today. I pray you've been blessed by it. Again, I'm Pastor A.T. Curry. Won't you come join us in person every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. It's an hour of power here at the Cornerstone Church, 640 Ebenezer Church Road, Fayetteville, Georgia. We'd be delighted to have you. May the Lord bless you and keep you until next time. God bless.